Today I planned to ride Picasso for a little bit. I warmed him up lunging. I still use the cavesson even if he has a bridle on. You can position it so that it is comfortable and does not pinch the horse. Because Picasso is out of shape and dealing with rehabilitation, he is weak. Not only is he weak, but he has overdeveloped some muscles that he's been using to compensate for his discomfort. So, it's an uphill battle to counteract not only his weak self-carriage muscles, but also to try and get him to not use those lovely muscles he's been using to move incorrectly with. My dad recently told me that he has to do rehabilitation on his shoulder, and he's having to use all the little muscles that he didn't use before instead of the big trapezius muscle that he's been overusing. He has to retrain his muscle memory. The same is true for Picasso. Unlike my dad, I can't just tell Picasso, "Don't use that muscle." I have to somehow show him what I want. And guess what? It's hard work that he doesn't want to do. So the key is to only ask for a little at a time. Just a few steps and then let it go. It's not fair to ask him to hold it for very long. He just can't. Yes, I am mounting from the offside. I think it's good for a horse to be flexible. I once worked with a filly who actually refused to let me on her right side. At all. For anything. I eventually got her to the point where she accepted me on both sides, but it took quite a bit of time. It will become quite apparent as you watch here just how unsteady Picasso is. He can hold himself for a little bit and then he has to change positions, be it raise his head or lower it. And I give him the freedom to adjust. One of Picasso's handy-dandy little evasions is to curl his neck and tuck his nose in behind the bit. He is quite flexible. So my goal as I ride him is to get his nose out and his neck long, with his eye around about hip level or a little lower. Easier said than done. And now for Aries. Aries really is not a fan of this arena. So each time we come in, I walk him around the edge. And each time, it's like walking a bomb. I try to relax and not think about it, not wanting to transfer my anxiety to him. But it's not easy. I do want Aries to become accustomed to indoor arenas. Today, I was reminded of a conversation I'd had with Manolo. I asked him, "How do you build confidence back in a horse?" He said, "You don't. You build trust." An important distinction. So I'm asking this horse who has only ever relied on himself to hand over his life to me. Not an easy thing to give. Because of Aries' lack of enthusiasm for this arena, he tends to want to stay very close to me on the circle. His fears were only confirmed when some cantankerous horse kicked the back of his stall that backs up to the arena. In the outdoor arena, I can get a fairly good-sized circle, and I don't have to work very hard to keep him out. But in here, it's almost a constant discussion to keep him out on a reasonably sized circle. So how do I do this? Well, I'm still testing out ways of doing that. So far, what I've done is keep the bamboo pole pointed at his shoulder when he starts to lean in and cut in on the circle. Aries is pretty good at not running into that pole when it's there. When he is not trying to tighten the circle, I move the pole back and away from his shoulder. I don't get the sense that this annoys him, but it sure annoys me to have to manage each step like that. But if that's what he needs for now, and it works, then I'll keep it up. One nifty thing I discovered: when I want Aries to halt, when I go to his hind end, if I don't use the bamboo pole to keep him straight, he will turn towards me. So I keep it up there just to remind him to stay straight. There are definitely right and wrong things you can do to a horse, but when you're figuring out what works for you and your horse, what works for my horse may be wrong for yours. So don't get locked into right and wrong. Free your thinking and go with what works and toss aside what doesn't. There is an art to changing the horse's bend in hand, and it involves coordinating 8 limbs, his 4 and my 4. Let's just say we're working on it. This week I was only able to film one day because of scheduling and busy work days. I did, however, work the boys in hand a couple of other times. One evening, it was raining on and off. While I was working Picasso, Aries was tied outside, and when it started to rain, I pulled him inside the arena, and since I was just cooling Picasso down, I let Aries loose while I finished with Picasso. After wandering around a bit, Aries came into the center and helped me lunge Picasso. Occasionally, Aries will let me in on his emotional life, and it's a treat every time he does. And again, when I ask for the halt, I try to keep him straight and get him square. He's getting to know the drill and moves whichever leg I ask for now. And Aries provided me with yet another reminder of how important listening is. I was getting involved in doing some body manipulations, messing with his neck, his jaw, etc. And he really wasn't in the mood. All of a sudden, I felt like I was just asking for something I wasn't going to get. So I changed my goal and I haltered him. We quietly walked around the arena, just halting and relaxing and walking on. The buzz that was in the air around him seemed to dissipate. It's not something I think you can see on the video. Or maybe you can. It was just a feeling I had. And of course, right when I said, "That's enough filming for today," he licked and chewed. Typical Mustang. I just got a new editing software, so bear with me while I play with all its new bells and whistles. See you next week!